I'm Joey Haskins, and welcome back to You've Never Seen, in which I showcase a film you've probably never seen before. You know, in the late 60s and early 70s, there were a lot of films that were released that were considered provocative. And this could be for a multitude of reasons, but it's usually for the amount of sex or violence in the film. This can lead to the film being protested, condemned, and in some cases banned. But nowadays, most of those films aren't that provocative, at least not through modern eyes. Take The Wild Bunch, for instance, a film which I love, and for a film made in 1969 is brutal. But now, compared to something like, say, Inglourious Basterds, it seems almost tame. That's not to say it isn't brutal, it is, but movies nowadays have desensitized modern audiences into believing that these movies that came out in the 60s and 70s were once considered too graphic. But admittedly, I do get surprised every now and again. One of those surprises is today's film, Harold and Maude. Harold and Maude is a 1971 film directed by Hal Ashby and written by Colin Higgins. It stars Bud Cort and Ruth Gordon as the title characters. Cort's Harold is obsessed with death and goes to eccentric extremes to get a reaction out of his ignorant socialite mother, who's become so used to the shocking behavior that she barely pays attention to him. Harold will pretend to kill himself, drives a hearse, and even attends funerals for people he doesn't know. This is where he meets the equally eccentric Maude, an 80-year-old who lives her life having fun, like stealing cars and even replanting a tree from a town to a forest. As the two spend more time together, they become closer. Harold gets to live life the way he never could, and Maude gets the human connection that she's missed. And of course, we learn that behind these two big personalities are sad and tragic people. The intricacies of each character are interesting. From the get-go, you can tell they are more than just their initial personalities, and they mesh very well. And it does help make you hate the people who tried to stop them from being together. What is shocking about the film is of course the elaborate deaths that Harold will stage. I can't go into them here because they are, as I said, shocking, but they are staged very well. There's this one where he looks like he's about to set himself on fire, and then he shows up a second later like some kind of magic trick. The film is dark, sad, and funny at the same time, and it's nothing new for Hal Ashby. This kind of subject matter is very commonplace for him. He's a director who, despite being very acclaimed, is not well known. It was only after his death where contemporaries started to respect the filmmaker for what he was. Harold and Maude is actually one of the first films he ever directed. He was originally a film editor, doing the job for films like The Thomas Crown Affair and In the Heat of the Night, for which he won the Oscar. Ashby was tapped to direct the film when production studio Paramount had rejected Colin Higgins as director when the tests he shot weren't that good. Harold and Maude is actually Higgins' master thesis from UCLA. Due to some connections, he was able to get it to a producer at Paramount, and they wanted to make a whole movie out of it. Ashby agreed to work on the film as long as Higgins gave his blessing. And while they were filming, Higgins was brought on set to watch Ashby and see how directing is done. And it would prove to be fruitful, as Higgins would go on to write and direct both Foul Play and 9 to 5. And that's not even mentioning Ruth Gordon, who could have retired after winning the Oscar for Rosemary's Baby with an eclectic career, which includes being a writer on Adam's Rib, which is a personal favorite of mine. But she was able to get one more big role under her belt, and she acted very well alongside Bud Cort. He could have been typecast from this role, but chose not to and didn't act in another film until 1977. That advice, by the way, was given to him by his mentor, Robert Altman. The film was not received well when it came out, primarily because of its subject matter and content. But almost immediately it had received cult status, particularly among younger audiences who were able to empathize with the characters. And fun fact actually, the film would be screened 1,957 times at the Westgate Theater in Edina, Minnesota from 1972 to 1974. Both Gordon and Cort would show up at the first and second anniversaries of the film. And of course, the legacy of the film is immortalized in its soundtrack, with several hits sung by Cat Stevens, who was originally supposed to compose a whole score but could not commit to it. So the filmmakers opted to take several songs from his previous albums and ask him to make two original ones. Harold and Maude is a humorous, sweet, and sad film that deserves to be praised for years to come. And as I said, there is some shocking imagery in this, so be cautious. You can watch the film on MGM Plus, or you can check it out at your local library. With Weston Media Center, I'm Joey Haskins, and I'll see you all next time.